the AI is only as good as the person that's kind of using it, though, too. You can have it, but if you don't have someone that's running it, you're going to be missing out.
Everyone else, welcome. Hope you're having a good day. We have two of my friends, Jason Huerkamp out of Minnesota.
And Minneapolis.
Dude, but you cover other areas too. That's why I was going to say Minneapolis, but you cover such a wide area.
Yeah, I mean, we cover from like middle of the state all the way almost to the Iowa border, and then we do some cabin sales in western Wisconsin on
what's the cool cabin place you were telling me about as we get people in? You told me you have
we have a place. Yeah, we have a place in Hayward is where we have a place. So
Hayward.
Yeah.
All right. Hayward. Is that Wisconsin or
Wisconsin? Yep. It's about it's 2.5 to 3 hours depending on where you are in the cities. So
got it. I'm looking it up right now. And then
cabin up there. And we used to go there every summer.
There you go. Where about, Jonathan?
It was in Hayward.
Oh, cool. Do you know what? Was it on a lake or?
It was a really small lake. One that's kind of like a paddle boat type lake.
Yeah, there's a ton of those. So,
oh, dude. Well, guys, do you guys know Neil Gaiman, the author?
I don't.
He's super famous. He lives in Minnesota and lived in Wisconsin. So every time I think of both places, I think of Neil Gaiman. I'm like, oh, Neil Gaiman. Trenton Bowden, he's our director of technology for Tristan & Associates, and he's now co-hosting a lot of these with me. Jason, you see Brett Baker here and there sometimes. He co-hosts. He couldn't make it today. So it's just us. And we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. We're going to be talking about the Chime AI, and we're going to be talking about other AI and how we're using it. So, Jason, first thought when it comes to AI, how are you feeling about it?
I think it's pretty interesting on what it can do. I think we got to be careful as agents or anybody that has to be careful that's going to use it, because it could be potentially quite a crutch, and I think if you don't fully understand what it's doing and you're just kind of clicking buttons like I have a tendency to do, then you can run into some issues with it. So I think you got to be really, really careful. And a lot of the CRMs are very advanced, including Chime, which, we obviously use. We use some other ones too. So I'm familiar with most of them, or I've, tried out most of them too. And I think they're all coming along at leaps and bounds speed now. So you just got to be careful on totally removing the personal touch out of the communication, because believe it or not, that personal touch is going to be how you're going to set yourself apart in an AI world, until AI maybe gets good enough that it seems like everything's coming from a human. But we're probably, from the little research that I've done, I still think we're probably 5 to 10 years from AI truly being able to do that. I mean, even, I'll even put responses in, my AI when I'm testing them, and, I'll say like, I have an aquarium full of turtles. Does the association allow that? So I try to test it myself too.
Dude, I love that. Yeah, I was interviewing the guy who created NFT Now. It's a website that Gary V invested heavily on. And we were talking. No, but this one's doing well. NFT Now. Yeah, this one's doing well. The guy's really smart, and he said, "Hey, I wrote this down, and I reminded me of what you said. The person who uses AI strategically will be the one taking the jobs, not the other way around." And I was like, oh, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, because we're always hearing AI is going to take your job, and that's not the case. If we're the ones using artificial intelligence to be able to grow and scale and put it into our business. How are you using the Chime AI? Are you letting it just go free and contact everybody? Or how does that work right now with you?
We're pretty much letting it kind go and contact, everybody that's in the system and just work with their standard issue stuff that they have for Anna. So, which has been pretty good. We tend though to really have a 10 days of pain, if you will, too, with our agents, because I think people get stuck in analysis paralysis with any of this stuff, right? They think like, oh, Tristan's the only person that registered he only registered on my site. He didn't register on anybody else's. And it's like, well, no, let me tell you what, if Tristan's actually searching proactively for houses, he probably is registered on 5 different people's websites in the town that they're looking in. I mean, so if you think, if you're sitting there as an agent and like, I'm going to spam somebody, or, I got to make sure everything's perfect. It's like, watch out, because a guy like myself or a guy like Tristan is just going to blow right past you, because we're not going to get stuck in that analysis paralysis.
What are you using outside of Chime's AI?
Funnel or Raya.
So tell me what happens as the lead comes through. Where does AI take over and where does it stop for you?
For us, we have 10 days of pain, then the AI switches on. And then from there, what we do is if we get a hold of the person and we think that they're actually going to buy a house, then they'll actually, we won't have any AI turned on at all at that point, right? So they come in, we'll do a 10 days of pain where we're calling. If we can't get a hold of them, then the AI switches on from there. Or if we get to a point where we've had a good conversation, but then all of a sudden they stopped answering us or so forth, then we'll turn that AI back on and look for it to re-engage. I think people think that there's so much more to AI. It just depends on what level you're looking at it, right? Because there's the stuff that's really not AI, where it's kind of setting them up on searches with an algorithm based on the search criteria they put on the system. There's the stuff that's more AI, where it's actually self-generated conversation that's happening between two people, and then there's the unknown that frankly none of us know about right now. I think everybody can hypothesize what that's going to look like. I just think we're guessing, though. I mean, if you talk to our grandparents in the 50s and 60s, I think they would all tell you that we have self-flying cars right now, like the Jetsons, but that hasn't happened. So who knows where this is actually going to go. I think you got to be careful about fear-mongering what it can do, because there's people that are definitely out there doing that. But keep in mind, at the turn of the last century, being 1900, I think it was 70 to 80% of the people were employed in the farming industry, right? And now 70 to 80% of Americans were employed as farmers as of 1900. And now I believe we're at 1%.
Wow.
But we're producing like 10 times the amount of crops that we did in 1900. So, it's embrace it and realize that you got to embrace change, or you can go the way of the dinosaurs.
Yeah, very true. All right, so now let's take a look at how you're looking to use artificial intelligence to help you build out a stronger Chime site, because I know we're using it. We're using ChatGPT and other sources to be able to grow our blogs, which we talked about right before we started, right? And see if Trenton, as we're talking, see if you can pop something up, and then I'll go to you after Jason explains to us what he's doing.
Yeah, so what we started doing is just as of yesterday, I was showing my VA like what I wanted her to be able to do with our blog site. And so we would use openai.com or ChatGPT. That's the same company. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but they're the same company. So we basically would go in and say in OpenAI or ChatGPT, and we would say, give me the 10 best reasons to live in Minnesota. And so within a minute at the most, it will shoot out the 10 best reasons to live in Minnesota. And then if you're doing the blog posting correctly, then you need to, it's going to ask you for the meta keywords, a meta title, a meta description. And so once you do that initial, give me the 10 best reasons why to live in Minneapolis or Minnesota, what have you, then you can say, give me the meta description for this. Give me the meta keywords for this. And it'll spit all of that out. So it really takes then what probably could easily take someone a couple hours to write the right blog post. I mean, you can write the blog post in minutes. I mean, it's crazy. And the thing is, a lot of people still won't do it, right? Or they won't do it repeatable, right? They won't do it with repeatable, predictable, duplicatable results. They'll do it once or twice, or maybe they'll do it for a month and they'll be like, oh, this doesn't work, and they'll stop. So I do think, though, it's going to up the competition for the people that are, even if, doing like YouTube videos, right? Because with that open.ai or ChatGPT, I can go in there and say, I would like a blog post about interest rates in the tone of Graham Stephan, who's a very well-known YouTuber. He's got like 4 million subscribers. And if I did that, it would actually blurt that out. And I can say the number of words I want and so forth. I mean, it's pretty crazy, and it gets to be a big challenge, probably from a little bit from an authenticity standpoint, because now everybody with a couple keystrokes is able to do this.
Yeah, I like that, man. And look, we're starting to on our end. I don't know if you have it up, Trenton, but you can showcase kind of what we're doing if you want to share your screen.
Yeah, sure.
And see if we can work through this together. Trenton's going to explain, Jason, what we're doing, and
Yeah, please.
kind of showcase the two screens to show you how it's done, and then you tell us what you're doing in between as well.
I thought it was funny that you mentioned that guy using like their voice. I used that for Tristan actually last week, and it popped out. It was like, yo, 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 what's up?
I did.
That's hilarious.
Well, you even get put in there like, let's make this more funny. Like,
Yeah.
we did a listing description, and I said, give me a listing description for my house, right? That's what I did. I said, give me a listing description for my house. And then I said, make it more funny. And it was crazy. It was like, welcome to this sweet pad, and it was crazy how it changed it.
Here's kind of one that I did yesterday, where I said, describe what ocean view homes are in Malibu. It popped it out, and then I like to do the rewrite this to be catchy, and then I'll get a different description here. And then it was a little bit too much, and I said, rewrite to be simpler. And then it was like not so boring.
Too simple.
And so then it kind of popped out something else different here. So that's kind of something we've been doing. And then what I'll typically do is like, write me a blog article about homes in Malibu for sale.
And then
I gotta
Trenton, you might have to refresh. Yeah. But Trenton, do that and say, I want it to be 1,000 words, or not even, say I want it to be 500 words. So I think that's the important thing too, is say the number of words that you want it to be.
Yeah, definitely. I will do sometimes, after like we'll write this out, or if it's not long enough, I'll like write this to be longer. Or I'll do the rewrite this as something I typically put in here. After it writes this out, then that's simply what I'll do, the rewrite this to be catchy, just to get a livelier voice. And then once it's done, I typically go write me SEO for meta title, meta description, and meta keywords. And then usually, like, since I didn't stop it, it would then pop out what those were. So yeah, that's kind of how we're doing it. But kind of an example here is, I'll just kind of show it. how quickly you can write out all these different blog articles pretty much like within, 1 to 2 days here, you could have 50 articles ready to go.
Can you explain what you've done here on Trello too, so that people understand what you're doing?
So I kind of have it broken down to where I've broken it down into some sections here. So like an introduction to specific city. Um, so I have a kind of an overview of the community, lifestyle, everything going on there. One that kind of goes over the history of Malibu, kind of where that kind of started out. I go into the unique culture, and then what it's like living there. And then so each of these I have like finding a home. So I'll break down, the real estate market, the different types of homes, how to navigate it for new home buyers, the a guide to choosing the perfect neighborhood, and then a guide to the top neighborhoods in Malibu. So just different ones here, what it's like moving there. Is it the high prices, like the cost of living? What's transportation like? What it's like to drive there? You have to deal with traffic, or is it more of like a scenic type thing? Are you bringing in tourists? And then kind of exploring. And here's kind of where you could really be the local expert. So, what to do beyond the beach. So, what are some outdoor activities that you can do, like hiking? An overview of entertainment in the city, exploring the restaurants, bars, and coffee shops. A guide to the best things to do there. And so then you can kind of then put in like your own, personal touch on it too, by having different examples. You could talk about, well, these are my 5 favorite, but here's 5 other favorites from other people as well. What are the challenges of living in that city? Exploring the education system. So pretty much I'll tell ChatGPT, write me an article about this, or write me a catchy article about this, and then, write me a title, and then write me some SEO for it. And so then what I do after that is I take that information, but then I'll put it into this editor here. And so I'm trying to then, rewrite a lot of it just to be a little bit more user friendly, to be able to understand it a little bit better. Because sometimes when I'll pop in from ChatGPT, it's like grade 12 or college level. And so then I want to bring it down to, maybe like a grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, just so it's easier to consume. So then once I do that, that's when I pop over into the blog section and then post the article in here.
Yep, exactly.
I like this, man. Where do you get the pictures from, so we don't get in trouble on the pictures, so people know?
We'll
Shutterstock. Nice.
You can ask ChatGPT what are the best stock images for free. I type in like the city or whatnot, and it'll pop out like Pixabay, I believe, is one. Unsplash is one. But yeah, Shutterstock is a great one if you do the paid subscription for that.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap. I don't remember what it is, but it's not much money. And then, no matter what, you're good to go. So, because you have the rights.
Yeah. I like that. All right. So then I just turned on the chat for everyone in here. So if you have any questions for Jason and Trenton, go ahead and put them on there. But Jason, I have a question as to where you're going now with AI. What do you envision your Chime site and Chime backend looking like, as far as bringing in AI to help you grow? What does that look like in the next year, you think, for you?
For me, I think it makes it so we have a chance to really help with a lot of organic SEO and maybe get away from, some of the pay-per-click stuff that we do. Because right now, we're spending, it's not the most out of anybody by any means, but I think we're spending about $6,200 a month on PPC, and our cost per lead, which is not really what I like to look at, but a lot of people talk about that. So our cost per lead is sits right at about $8, give or take. Our average sales price in the Twin Cities is about $410. So, but what we think that it'll do is it'll help us with that organic SEO. And then on top of that, it can really, if we do YouTube videos that are off of the blogs or very similar to the blogs, and then reposting that on Insta, and all the other social sites. We try to not be a jack of all trades or a master of none, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there for people that were getting stuck, like myself, on writing the content, because now I pretty much have like a award-winning writer for nothing, and that writer with ChatGPT, that writer would have cost me $70,000-$80,000 a year, right?
Mhm.
I mean, and they're faster.
Very true, man. And it comes down to you being able to understand the capabilities of it so you can guide it better too, right? It comes down to the user. So I think that's what we're going to start seeing more of. It's like, how creative can we be?
Yep.
How more niche can we get? And then what can we add? Like you mentioned at the very beginning, what can we add as far as an authentic voice to make this our own? And I think that starts becoming what we really end up doing with this in the next few months, because this could all change too, like in a year, like you said.
Yeah. You know, who knows? But I think you could add an authentic voice even by maybe not typing in the information yourself. So like what we'll do is we'll say, what's the top 10 reasons to live in Minneapolis? And then we'll spit those out. And then we'll say, okay, they'll talk about maybe like the Timberwolves or the Vikings or what have you. And I'll say, tell me more about the Timberwolves. Well, then I can add that on right into like the editor, like on the Hemingway app or something. And I can take that information, I can kind of plug and play and add it in. And so I can make it mine that'll be totally different than anybody else's just by asking GPT to do additional stuff.
Yeah, I like that,
Cool.
man.
I love
like-
when you ask the top 10 things, and then all of a sudden you have 10 topics to then,
Yep.
dive deeper into.
Absolutely. It's taking that deep dive, because that's what most people will do. Step A, they just won't do step B. And step B is doing that deep dive. And then step C is even taking a step further from there and, personalizing it some more. But you don't necessarily have to go to step C. You don't have to go to step B either, but everybody's going to start at A. So if you want to be different, go ahead and do step B and step C.
That's true. I like that. All right. How are you, Trenton? I'm going to you. Where are we placing this stuff on our Chime site so you can kind of showcase the Chime site and what we're morphing that to look like? And then Greg is asking, Jason, are you suggesting using AI for content rather than direct contact with new leads? How is AI different than smart plan communication? I think we can all answer that, but Jason, let's go to you.
So as far as like the content part of it, I don't know that I would necessarily say that I'm using AI to create content for new leads, if I understand the question correctly. I mean, we're really letting Chime do the AI that's embedded, and that AI is doing it on its own, right? Where, because we're kind of talking about two different things, right? We got Chime AI and then ChatGPT, which are totally different and separate from each other, at least right now. But we definitely use, Chime's AI to engage the leads after we have that 10 days of pain, if you will, of calling those leads, texting them and emailing them. We still look at it as being quite agent focused. There are people that have huge businesses just running the AI. Typically, though, they're generating a ton of SEO leads at a very low cost. You just have to be careful about getting the right ROI from if you're doing PPC instead of SEO leads. So,
got it. All right. And then on that, just to add to that, to the question, Greg, I think what you can also do is go into ChatGPT, which we did about a month and a half ago. We showcased it and showed how we started creating smart plans that where we were using ChatGPT to kind of guide us and be like, so create for us 5 responses after an open house to a buyer, and then it boom, 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 boom. And it's like by text, boom, 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 boom. So yeah, we are using it to create smart plans as well. We're tweaking it to make it sound more human. But Trenton, what are we changing our site to look like? Where are we adding the blogs?
Yeah. Do you want to share the screen and walk through that?
Yeah. Here, share the screen, please.
Well, first and foremost, how to get to the blog. How do I get out of that tab? you're going to hit website, excuse me, website here at the top. You'll click on your website, and right over here, you have this blog button. It looks like the blog button is also up top here. And so this will open up the blog section, and this will show all your posts that you have. Sometimes it's like this a little bit zoomed in. So just remember, you just got to, this scrolls in order to be able to see that edit button there. But I like it zoomed out a little bit more. So it'll show you which ones you have scheduled, which is awesome, because then you could really have the entire week's scheduled and not have to worry about it right then, like each day. It shows you which ones you've kind of started. We only have a couple on here at the moment, but this will literally be over a couple hundred here just this year. Categories you can break down as well, which will then show up on your website. If I can put this down a little. Well, I guess I don't have the site up, but you can then pull it up on the website. Let's see, I thought I did. Oh yeah, right here. So on your website, then you can create like a blog section, and we're going to start putting it on our homepage here as well. So that way it's a little bit easier to find. You can start adding it to specific neighborhood pages. So that way the blogs will correspond with the actual neighborhood that it's talking about. And then with those categories, you could then have them broken down here. So it could be home buyer, it could be sellers, it could be, like I said, open house, because here's a great one that you guys can do is this one out on a Friday. I think it was last Friday, and we featured an open house that was happening. So we put that in the article, but then we also kind of walked through why you shouldn't miss out on open houses this weekend, which was great content pulled from ChatGPT. But we're also featuring, an open house for an agent. So that's kind of how we're utilizing that on the Chime website, and we'll be able to place it kind of wherever we want, so that we can kind of gain some of that organic content.
Yep. That'll help a ton with SEO.
Yeah, guys, I think we should do like a part 2 to this and dive in. Jason, in about a month, I'd like to see where you guys are at too.
Yep.
I think by then, Trenton, we'll have if we're going to shoot for one a day, we'll probably have 30 to showcase in different areas too.
Definitely.
So, Jason, if you want to jump back in, we can kind of dive in and compare and then show what we're doing so people can learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
That way we keep each other accountable too.
Yeah, totally.
You're like, Tristan, what the hell? You didn't do it. I'm like,
no, let's do it.
All right, I love this. Jason, thanks so much. If you have any referral,
you guys,
the whole part of Minnesota and that section in Wisconsin, what the hell was that? Hayward.
Yeah, we pretty much work Western Wisconsin too. So, but anything in the greater Twin Cities, down to Rochester, up to St. Cloud, into Western Wisconsin. And we're very honest. If we're not the expert that can handle your referral there, we'll get you in contact with somebody that actually can handle it, because we want to make sure that all the clients get best taken care of that they can possibly be. So
I love it. Thanks, man. And if you have any questions for Trenton, what's your email address? Jason, how do people follow you if you want to dump it into the chat, or if they have a question?
Yep, I'll dump it into the chat.
So it'll be fun, man. I think we're just scratching the surface with AI. I know Google's talking about coming up with their own AI in the next couple of months. So Google's going to throw something out. Pretty fun. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited where we're heading. It's just going to help us leverage information out there a lot more. So,
yep.
But I think it's a good point where, just to kind of go off of, was, the AI is only as good as the person that's kind of using it though too. Because it's just, you can have it, but if you don't have someone that's running it, you're going to be missing out. It reminded me of Black Panther again, because it's like they have all that AI, but you need to have someone smart enough to be able to understand it and use it.
See, Jason, that's why Trenton and I work together, because he loves Marvel.
What's wrong with that?
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah.
Thanks, Trenton.